Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the main stand, episode 24, technically 25. Oh, side note, can you believe that, guys, before we actually start? We're a quarter of the way to 100 episodes already.
Crazy.
It's been a journey.
Insane. So, as always, here with Josh, here with Mitch, we got a very interesting week of stuff to talk about. We got some international, we got some club, we got some transfer, and then a fun little announcement at the end of the episode too here. So be on the lookout for all of that. We'll start with general housekeeping. Mitchell's birthday over the weekend. Josh's birthday.
Shared a birthday weekend. It was
last week. Yeah, everybody had a birthday. I got fucking hammered on Saturday. And I set myself an alarm to wish Mitchell a happy birthday the next day. Mitch's birthday was Tuesday, not last Saturday. But I called him and wished him a happy birthday on Saturday. So there's that. Incredibly well.
He really wanted to be first.
Exactly. And then, we got everybody here is a year older except for me. And Josh, it's probably pretty timely to finally tell the people what's on the horizon for you this coming week.
Yeah, so I had a birthday weekend. I'm assuming Mitch did as well. Only tough part for me was having to watch the Liverpool game on my phone on the way back from Madison and the Forward Madison shop not being open. That was a pretty disappointing part about visiting Madison. That was one of the things I was looking forward to. But we move. I'll get there again and go to that store. But this upcoming week, we have something real interesting. A week from today, we're recording on Wednesday. I will be going to St. Paul, to the old stomping grounds, the Allianz Field, and I'll be attending the U.S. Men's World Cup quarterfinal against Honduras in what a lot of weather stations are saying is a game that has potential to be canceled or has potential that, it should be played inside because of the wind chill that's forecasted. It's at extreme levels for kickoff. So I don't know how this game is going to play out. It should be pretty interesting in terms of the players on the field and the fans actually in the ground. But we will be doing a vlog for that. That'll be up on our YouTube page. We're going to record everything from getting into the stadium, what the merch is like, pregame, anthem. It's going to have everything in it. So you're going to make sure to subscribe to the YouTube page so you can tune into that right away. I think it's going to be a hell of a time. And I'm not making any promises, but Saturday's Football put something on their Instagram today, laying out all the scenarios of how the U.S. men could qualify next Wednesday. There is a chance we qualify for the World Cup while the main stand is present.
Fingers crossed.
Insane.
I just want to be wrong about us being bad.
The three there's a few scenarios. If the U.S. wins tomorrow, Sunday or Saturday against Canada, which is a very hard game, if they beat Honduras, they would qualify automatically. There's also, if Mexico or Panama loses all three, fifth place Costa Rica gets 5 points or fewer, or sixth place Jamaica gets 7 points or fewer, we would qualify.
So you got some options, but I had to send Josh my go-to cold weather gear. I was bibbed up in my Carhartt bibs. They're like thick quilted, lined snow pants, just overalls, and I think I don't even know if they would be able to withstand the temperatures that they're forecasting for this, because I was still pretty chilly when it gets down to 10 degrees, 5 degrees. I still get kind of chilly in those with base layers on. I also have poor circulation, humble brag, but no, you're definitely going to need to be bundling up. Go skin a bear or something and just wear it as a jacket.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to have to find something because I really do not have warm weather clothes or cold weather clothes. So that's going to be tough for me. They're forecasting, I think the high for the day is 14 degrees and wind chill is going to be in the
And
negative.
That's with the sun up. That's with the sun up.
Yeah, I think kickoff's supposed to be below 10, which is insane.
You're from New England. Just wear some and one basketball shorts and a hoodie.
Yeah, out of all three of us, you live in a colder region of Maine than
That's true.
the two of us. So like, just get some
Exactly.
thicker skin, revert back
Fine.
to your county days, and drink some alcohol before you get there, and you'll be fine.
The Heinekens will be consumed before and during the game. But
Yeah.
we were talking in the group chat a little bit before this today, actually, about the players and how many are going to go down with cramp or just general injuries, especially the Honduras players. I kind of forgot the field at the Allianz is actually heated. So I don't know. That might take away a little bit from the cold. But we'll see how it plays out. It's going to be an interesting one. I don't know if it's an advantage or a disadvantage for the U.S. We do have a lot of players coming from Europe where it is already cold, which I mentioned in the group chat as well. That maybe will be a slight advantage. Just players coming from Germany and whatnot might be a little bit more acclimated to it being cold right now. But it definitely is going to be a unique environment for sure.
We'll see. Honestly, we'll see. I think it should be a pretty good next set. Unlike the past, I won't be pessimistic Pat TM about the men's national team chances going into these next couple of games. I actually feel good about the men. We'll talk about it when we get there, but I feel good. In my heart of hearts, I think I was wrong. I think we'll qualify for the World Cup.
Berhalter put out a really, really good team too. The squad is pretty deep this time around, so I think this will be a strong window. Canada will be tough, but like you said, we'll get into it a little bit later.
Yeah. We can hop right in. Actually, before we jump into everything else, Josh, a little over 50% on the betting last week, so that's pretty solid. Unfortunately, there were some. We had a bad weekend for calls, just like in general. The bets were decent, but we had two that we were just like, yeah, I feel really, really good about this one. The two big games of the weekend, we were like, yeah, I really favor Tottenham in this one, actually. They go out and lose 2-0. And then we were like, yeah, City definitely scored a bunch of goals. They go and draw 1-1 with Southampton.
We really hammered the City-Southampton game, and we're completely wrong. And Tottenham, we were probably even more wrong because Tottenham just got played off the pitch against Chelsea.
Yeah, that was terrible. So we can kind of use that to say into the Premier League update. So we'll start, top of the list here. I think it was the first game of the weekend, maybe. No, it was the noon game. So it wasn't the first game of the weekend, but it was the first game of the weekend I was really paying attention to. City drew 1-1 with Southampton. I got a couple of thoughts about that game as a fan, and then just kind of like in general. As a fan, I don't think that the excuses that are kind of floating around, like from the City Twitter side of things, really should have mattered. And I'll get into those excuses in a second. Just like lazy in front of goal, which is, it's kind of been like the thing you've seen out of City over the past couple of years. I don't think it's anything to be afraid of. Personally, the way I feel about it is this City side has set such a high standard over the past couple of years. You see them drop points every once in a while, and it's like, oh my God, they're not invincible. They're not like this robotic winning machine that only wins games and, can never be held to any fault in the Premier League. Obviously, players are human. People are human. Guardiola has said time and time again, City are going to lose games. So, I think they should have won the game. I think Sterling absolutely should have had like 2 goals. And we probably should have had a penalty with that challenge on De Bruyne, but not this or that. As a fan, I'm not too worried about it. I still think that City are in a pretty good position to win the league, and I don't think they'll, drop too many points here and there. Those games happen. That being said, no idea how Stuart Armstrong was on the field at the end of that game. It was absolutely a red card. You can't change my mind. That's fucking insane that he didn't get a red and De Bruyne didn't get a penalty called for him. I think the referees had a really, really fucking bad weekend, in all honesty.
It's been a really bad couple of weeks. And, watching that game, obviously, City should have won that with the lineup that was put out. But I think Sterling, the game that he had was just piss poor. 2 sitters, it just he looked too relaxed. It wasn't like there was any initiative to get out and grab the goal.
Yeah, I got no idea how he missed that one in the first half. That just put on a plate for him.
You couldn't have had a better sitting ball to just put in the back of the net. Forster, backup keeper for Southampton in net as well. Like, should have been oozing confidence, but Southampton came out fast. They came out.
Yeah, that really good goal from really good
Walker
goal,
Peters.
From Kyle Walker Peters. And Salabia stood on his fucking head. He was really, really good all 90 minutes.
And Broja had a really good game too. Obviously a few mistimed runs throughout the day, but like for a game like this where I feel like most of the team is going to lean on players like Shea Adams and James Ward-Prowse, it was really a defensive work forward team. Like the defense really held against a really tough City side. I mean, your ideal 11 really
well.
I
also think it was Grealish's best game in a City shirt.
Grealish had a phenomenal game, I would say.
I thought he looked good.
I'm enjoying this one.
I don't think Foden is totally all the way back yet either after going through COVID and everything like that.
I don't think so either, but I don't know. Again, I'm not super worried about it. The games like that happen. I credit to Southampton. I think Southampton were really, really good.
They earned their point. I will say that. The referee
I'm enjoying
helped in giving them that.
I'm enjoying this because this is karma for a statement that was made earlier in the season that a one Southampton were going to get relegated.
Yeah, I knew that was coming. Yeah, I don't think they're getting relegated. I think I was wrong.
I think the bigger takeaway from this game is that City dropping points. It does kind of show that they're not invincible. They will drop points throughout the season. And Liverpool beating Crystal Palace. I don't know. I said it last week with Jurgen doing the fist bump at the end of the Brentford game, I believe. And then beating Arsenal's giving us some momentum. And then Klopp does the fist bump again after Palace. It just gives me that belief that we're still in this title race. We're 9 back right now with a game in hand. We could get that to 6. Still have a game versus City. If we win that, it goes to 3. Liverpool are still in this title race, and they looked very, very good against Crystal Palace. You can say what we want about the penalty. Yeah, it probably wasn't. We argued about
probably. It wasn't a penalty.
So I do see both sides. I will say that it was incredibly soft. However, you can't say that he isn't making an attempt to play the ball or lost the ball when he made a very, very light touch over Guaita's glove in the position that Guaita's in.
His momentum and runs into him. Come on, man.
Allison had a similar penalty called on
Allison, yes. Allison had the same thing happen last year. So, I mean, it is inconsistent. It is soft. Did it have an impact on the overall outcome of the game? No, it's 3-1 versus 2-1 at that point. Allison stood on his fucking head.
It might have been different. I think the Palace have to look at themselves, though. Elise had a couple chances on the ball where he should have tucked the ball away. They have to take a hard look at themselves after the game because they could have been better. Ultimately, it's a 3-1 game, and it's just an easy Liverpool win at the end of the day, and we move.
I just think 3-1 versus 3-2 maybe gets a little bit nervy after that. That being said, the penalty didn't change too much, but I just thought that decision was fucking terrible, like abysmal refereeing.
That's what it seemed like the general consensus was too across England. My other big takeaway from this one: 2 assists from Andy Robertson.
Huge day from Robbo.
Simicas has been kind of mixed into the team. Robertson's just been new levels of good. It seemed like he could never reach possibly higher than he was a couple years ago. And just the delivery he's getting on some of these crosses and everything, he's just been stellar.
Talk about delivery. I mean, nobody's really talking about the pass that Trent had leading to that penalty.
That's true.
Like, unbelievable. Like, to be able to cross the ball upfield 65 yards in stride from a defender, and he's doing it on a weekly basis. And albeit doesn't get anything on the team or on the score sheet, but had a very impactful performance. I think he looks pretty solid defensively as well. Palace getting a breakaway goal, just tapping it across and open net. So
what do you think about Ox getting goals in back-to-back Premier League games? I
think it's huge, especially for his confidence. He hasn't had a consistent run of games since his ACL surgery. And I think having somebody step up into a position when we are severely lacking in our creative department and obviously take away our best player. AFCON has been so terrifying. We've talked about it for so fucking long. And to have guys like Jota and Ox step up and perform and get us points and get us results while those guys are gone has been immense. And I think should the title race come a little bit closer and we start looking back on this season, if Liverpool are in an opportunity to win the league, I think that those performances throughout the month of December are going to be vital to that.
Yeah, couldn't agree more with that. But like I said, I think it's getting a little bit close. Again, if Liverpool slip up, we're back to right where we were a couple of weeks ago, but it is starting to get that vibe of Liverpool are still in this race and they haven't gone away quite yet.
Because all it takes is City to lose a game right now. We win our game in hand and then win the matchup to be tied. You know, like it's just like that, and it's a swing. And it doesn't feel like we're out of it yet, but City are still a side that even on a bad day, they're looking like 85% better than 85% of the clubs in the league.
Yep. Yeah, that's true. And we'll get into the third place team here, Chelsea. Now they played Tottenham last week in a London derby and won pretty handily, 2-0.
They beat the shit out of them.
Yeah, what a goal by
the contest.
Yeah, phenomenal goal by Ziyech, but like the fucking whole team they played so well. Like start to finish, it never ever felt in doubt. Even before, even at 0-0 throughout the time it was 0-0, it just felt like Chelsea had that game completely under control. Tottenham did not look very threatening at all. Chelsea's midfield absolutely dominant the entire time. I thought Hudson-Odoi and Kovacic looked really, really good for Chelsea throughout the entire game. Obviously, the goals are going to get the attention, but I thought those were two real standout players for them on the day. And on top of that, I thought Lukaku's movement looked good. I think he had a couple of good chances through the middle. And I think we might have been a little quick to call Chelsea like we might have been a little quick to just be like, oh yeah, Tottenham are definitely going to win this game.
Yeah,
I think that might have been a little bit of a rash call, but I do think that this Chelsea side are still very, very good, and they just like really, I just can't say it enough. They really impressed me in that game against Tottenham over the weekend.
Tottenham are just, I don't know. They're like a team of terrors with the way they perform sometimes, and then they just fall off in other games. Dele Alli's posting fucking TikToks during the game while they're losing. I don't know if you guys saw that on Twitter. They're just a fucking nightmare.
You know what's kind of crazy about Tottenham? And this is in a really absurd world. If they win their games in hand, which are 4, they are level on points with Liverpool.
That's insane, but no way in hell that happens.
I know, but it's just funny. I have the table open right now. They've only played 20 games. It's just like
that's wild.
Tottenham is synonymous with COVID right now.
Yeah.
Before we move out of the Premier League, I do want to just bring up the fact that Villa beat Everton 1-0, and Steven Gerrard, absolute piss take from him. Just upping the Evertonian fans. Just love to see that energy.
Bigger piss take from Lucas Digne celebrating in front of the Everton fans 9 days after still being an Everton player, man. That is fucking unreal.
I love to see that. He clearly wasn't happy there. And can we figure out why bottles are called missiles when they're being thrown at players? The amount of times I heard missiles being thrown onto the pitch, I don't get the context. So if you know better than I do, please help me understand that, because if missiles are getting thrown about, I feel like there'd be more damage than a little egg on the head from a bottle.
U.S. sports fans are pretty fucking soft, man. I see people complaining about this. This happens all the time in Europe and England specifically. And no one, like, obviously people care, and like these people should get like lifetime bans from stadiums. It just shouldn't be happening. But people in the U.S., if that happened to like LeBron or someone of that nature in like the NBA, I think it would shut down the internet.
Yeah, absolutely. Also, Mitchell, I'm pretty sure they call them missiles because that's like the textbook definition for like throwing an object at someone. Hold up, I'm gonna go to Google.
Like a projectile?
Yeah. The definition of missile is an object which is forcibly propelled at a target, either by hand or from a mechanical weapon. So they're just literally like they're taking the dictionary definition for the word.
And that is why I am not an English teacher.
Still in England, I know we have one other game on the notes to talk about, and we can end on that one, but we brought up how Southampton were going to get relegated, right? You know who else is out of the relegation zone now?
Wow.
And there's a player who I talk so much shit about on this club, but this man really did scorpion kick Norwich City out of the relegation zone. What a goal by Jarjan in the Norwich game against Watford, and they're out of the relegation zone. What is going on? I never thought I would see the day that Norwich City were not bottom of the table.
I've been praising my redheaded boy all year. It's incredible to be able to see an American go out into the Premier League and score a goal like that. Just unbelievable control on that, and in full stride, just to put it away, bar down. It was a very, very, very good moment as a U.S. soccer fan to see something like that, just for a young player and in the top league in the world.
That was a very, very good goal, and again, the moment in itself was great. Newcastle did also finally win a game, which is funny. So the bottom of the table, I think the relegation fight might be a real close watch here.
I have a hot take for the end of the episode.
All right, cool. We're excited to hear that for sure. It does also look like Burnley are absolutely going the fuck down. So
yes,
thank God.
The last old club still in the fucking Premier League are finally going to the championship, where they'll spend the next 20 years.
I just hate them. I've wanted Burnley to get relegated for like at least since they came to the Prem. I just wanted them gone.
I want Sean Dyche more gone than the team or the club, honestly.
Nah, both. Their fans are fucking ogres
too, but they played Arsenal this weekend and tied 0-0, by the way. That was the last game we were going to talk about. Arsenal are just they're just like Tottenham, man. They have like a good run, decent run. Whenever they make a good run, it's always against shit teams. But then they just go on a run of miserable form. Eventually it's inevitable. And without Aubameyang in the team, I don't know what's going on over there, honestly. But Lacazette just isn't getting it done, man. They start Lacazette and bring on Nketiah. I mean, it's just never.
I think they desperately need a striker, man. Like that is that is the biggest problem I see with that Arsenal side.
And it's not going to help with teams like Juve swooping in under the radar and putting in an £85 million bid for Dusan Vlahovic, who has only had rumors to Arsenal for the last 3 fucking months. Absolutely insane transfer update there. I was able to watch the Fiorentina game. They drew this past weekend, and Vlahovic did not play because he had COVID. And then all of a sudden, the Arsenal Twitter start flaring up. Oh, it's because he's coming to Arsenal. He's coming to Arsenal. And then I just see one tweet that changed the world before I saw the bid come in. Somebody said, he's not going to Arsenal. He has fucking COVID. Shut up. 5 minutes later, the Juve bid became public, and I was shocked. Very shocked.
Yeah. I mean, it's shocking because he hasn't really been linked too much with them. But it makes a little bit of sense. Juve kind of have the same type of mentality towards the Serie A as Bayern do the Bundesliga, where they kind of like cherry pick top talent from sides around them, and like they have the money to pay these teams pretty much whatever they're asking for. And if the player is happy, in Italy, it's like a no-brainer. Like my family, like I'm set up in Italy. I'll move an hour north and play for the best team in the country, sort of. Not this year, but you know what I mean? Like historically, one of the best teams in the country, or in the past few years, past like 10 years, one of the best teams in the country. You know what I'm saying?
Looking at it from a player perspective, if you can, just indulge me for a minute. If Arsenal were to offer, say, 75 million, right? And the players agreed to terms with both, and the clubs are all set, what have you. Obviously, a club is going to want to take more money, but in a perfect world, you get 70 million to go to Arsenal, be the guy, play in the best league in the world, and potentially, like at this point, Arsenal are a couple of players and some depth away from being in that top 4 fight every single year. Do you take the pay cut to go to Arsenal, or do you stay in Italy and just have it handed to you?
Depends on the type of player you are. It feels pretty like it feels like a lateral move. But some players are happy with that. Some players would rather just get the bag, win some easy titles, and not really have to worry about moving. I respect it. Do what you got to do, bro.
Seriously, though, bar Alexis Sanchez and maybe Ozil for 5 years, 4 or 5 years. Like, what player has gone to Arsenal and really like saw success without having a huge breakup? It's always bad when you go to Arsenal. There's always controversy or something that happens that tarnishes your relationship with the fans, or you don't meet the standards of, what the fans want because they're so fucking trigger happy with coaches and players. Who would want to go to Arsenal? Not just because of form, it's because of how the players are treated. It always ends up in controversy.
It does. Yeah, I mean, the list is a pretty good point there. The list is ever expanding. I mean, Ozil,
Nicolas Pepe is the best example I can think of. Brilliant player, someone I was like bought into Liverpool buying, honestly.
Yeah, it was close that he was coming here.
Yeah, and he's not even getting picked in the team now under Arteta. It's just insane. That's partly on the coach, partly on the fans. It just seems like a fucking toxic environment. Yeah, well, like as much of a joke as Juventus are, I would much rather go there and just like win kind of meaningless trophies.
Yeah. Because at the end of the day, when they look at it, they're going to say, oh, you have six titles in the Serie A and you were the leading goal scorer 2 of those times. Like, you're still going to get cemented in the conversation for one of the best.
Exactly. And you're not going to end up on fucking AFTV every weekend when Arsenal play bad getting bantered.
God.
Yep. It just makes more sense to stay in Italy for him. A player who it makes sense to leave and is finally leaving, Martial going to Sevilla on loan. I think it's a good move for the dude. I think he did not live up to the hype at United at all. And I think this is probably a good opportunity for him to like go play some ball, go find some form, do what a lot of players do after they leave United and flourish elsewhere over the past couple of years. So
I think Sevilla is a good fit for him too, just the style of player he is. But is there a permanent option when the loan's done?
I did not see if there was a.
It probably will be, I imagine.
Because I don't see him coming back ever. I really don't. But I'm excited for him. I think he does have potential to be a top player. I think a lot of what has happened to Martial is similar to the bullshit that's gone on at Arsenal for years. It's a player who, in the peak of when they are developing in their younger years, have a managerial mishap. You're struggling to find a good fit to run the squad. The fans are getting hostile, and there's a lot of question marks in the front office. And I think that plays a lot into what has happened with Martial in the Prem.
Mm-hmm.
So good on him. How do we feel about somebody coming over from the French League One over to the Premier League potentially into Newcastle? Bruno Guimaraes getting targeted for a move to Newcastle.
I'll be honest, I don't watch, the Uber Eats DoorDash league that often, but I have heard good things about him. Saw his highlights, and he looks like a nice creative little player. So I think it's a big signing for Newcastle in terms of, the stature of player they're going after now. I think he's been one that's kind of been rumored around Arsenal and a few of those other teams in England. So for Newcastle to land him and Trippier in the same window, pretty impressive in my book.
Yep. Yeah. And I think a big place that Newcastle were lacking too is like a creative force in the midfield. As funny as I think Jonjo Shelvey is, Buddy is not a creative midfielder. And as interesting as I think it is that they turned Joe Linton into a number 8 from a striker, he's also not a creative midfielder. So bringing someone in who like plays that role and can bring a little bit of creativity, a little bit of pizzazz, if you will, to a Newcastle midfield that really fucking needs it, I think will help him a lot.
He do be a Brazilian midfielder, so.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty interested to see how the remainder of Newcastle's season shakes out. Currently a point off Norwich in 17th with a game in hand. But they look fucking terrible, as do, honestly, all of the bottom 5 teams from Everton to Burnley. They're all kind of dog shit this year. So who knows? But the relegation scrap will be good. And I think that signing a player like him and, like you mentioned, Josh, getting Trippier in the same window is going to do them a lot of good. I think if they stay up, they will have a very, very good summer. So I think they're making the necessary moves now to make sure that they are a Premier League club come next year.
I guess we'll move on now. We already talked about Vlahovic. Luis Diaz is an interesting one. He's been supposedly Tottenham put a bid out to Porto for him, but he wants to hold out for Liverpool supposedly in the summer. Doesn't look like Liverpool's going to get him in the winter at least. If you guys saw that video of Klopp handing out beers after the Crystal Palace game, someone actually threw a comment in asking about Luis Diaz, and Klopp just kind of smirked and turned around. I don't know what is going on with this guy. I wouldn't mind him. There's a lot of people on football Twitter kind of freaking out about Liverpool not signing him yet. I do think it's funny if the stories about him rejecting Tottenham for Liverpool are true, but I guess we'll have to wait and see what happens in the summer.
This year we are Monitor FC. We have looked at just so many different transfer monitoring situations where we're looking into this player, we're looking into that player. I don't think, especially with the success that we have had the last couple of weeks, I don't think we make a move in the last few days here of the window. So if Luis Diaz is holding out for Liverpool, and Liverpool are aligning the stars to bring him in, it's going to happen this summer for sure. Pat,
Yes.
how do you feel about Alvarez?
I don't know a thing about the kid. I've watched one 10-minute YouTube compilation about him, and I am convinced he's a Sergio Aguero regen. But I know absolutely nothing about him. He is not creative, but he's a poachery, good goal scorer, plays for River Plate in Argentina. 18.5 million is really good business for a 21-year-old. And yeah, if he's anything like the last 20-something-year-old Argentinian striker that we signed, I'm all for it. I think it's a great deal. And everything I've read says it's not going to affect us going in for a big striker in number 2. So as a fan, I like it a lot. I think he's definitely one for the future. I'm also pretty sure he's staying at River Plate until July. So he'll join up with City in the start of the 2022-2023 season. But seems like a pretty good player. I will have to actually watch some of the Argentinian league now to see what City are buying.
Absolutely. And then last thing we really want to touch on for big transfer updates and news, we have some rumors coming out that a player who has been stranded in United's team on the bench looking for a way out, Donny Van de Beek, rumored to be heading to Crystal Palace.
I love that move if it's on loan. I think he could really go to Palace and shake things up in the midfield.
Me too. I absolutely adore that. Yeah, I think get him the fuck out. Go play ball. The Donny Van de Beek that I remember in that Ajax midfield in that Champions League semifinal run team was incredible. He was such a good player. Really creative, really good on the ball, made phenomenal runs in space, found those little pockets in half spaces. He was a really, really good creative midfielder, and to see him just rotting on Manchester United's bench, I absolutely hate it. So I adore this rumor, and I really, really hope it happens because Van de Beek is just one of those players that I think is way too talented to just be sitting on a bench right now.
And deserving. Like he's a great locker room presence. He's somebody who is willing to die on the pitch for his teammates, and he has that mentality coming from the Netherlands. Like we see it in almost every Dutch player that it has become like a top name in the Premier League. They are so consistent with the way they work. And I feel like he needs some sort of resurgence. He needs an opportunity, and he's clearly not going to get it at United.
Couldn't agree more. Yeah, I really want to see him move. So if anything, this winter, I really hope to see him go to Palace and really find his feet again.
For sure.
Do we want to tuck into the international break, guys? We already have kind of international squads linking up. I think the first kind of set of games are going for Thursday here this afternoon, or tomorrow afternoon. So
Let's get it.
Yeah. So there's not much going on. We'll start off in South America. Actually, this is the first table we have on our note sheet. I don't believe South America is actually playing this window. I think there's actually a couple like makeup matches because I did see, I believe Ecuador or Colombia is playing Peru. That'll be a big one, kind of right on the fringe of qualification. Aside from that, I think CONMEBOL is going to be pretty quiet. I think, like I said, I think the ones they are playing are makeup games. I could be wrong about that. What I think we're all interested here is going to be CONCACAF qualifying. That's going to be the big one this weekend. Some huge, huge matches. I wrote about Mexico and Jamaica last night. That one's going to go ahead on Thursday, which obviously this episode comes out on Friday. That's going to be a huge game for Mexico. It's a huge window for Mexico because they're really kind of putting their backs against the wall. They could face that same fate they did in 2014 in having to go into that inter-confederation playoff. So I think it'll be an interesting window for them, and obviously the United States having the potential to qualify after not doing so in the last World Cup.
Yep. I literally, if the U.S. can qualify, I will be over the fucking moon. I will never be happier to be wrong on this podcast in my entire life than if the U.S. can come out of this with, what do we play? 3 games, 2 games? Sorry. 3. If we can come out of this with 7 points, I will be the happiest person in the world.
We have El Salvador tomorrow, Canada this weekend, and Honduras Wednesday.
Yep. Yeah. A draw against Canada and 2 wins over the moon. I think that's a really, really good, good qualifiers. I think this Canada team is really, really good. I actually wouldn't be surprised to see them beat us in that qualifier, but I think that will be just a phenomenal game. The last time we played Canada, I think we were really, really lucky to come out of that with a draw. And if Alphonso Davies didn't go off injured, I don't think that game.
Is he going to be out again because of the COVID stuff with his heart, I believe?
I'm pretty sure, yeah. I remember reading something from Nagelsmann a couple of weeks ago, like the fact that he's having like continued heart problems, like you mentioned, because of his recovery from COVID. So I don't see him playing. I actually don't think he was even in the roster, if I remember correctly. Yeah. But yeah, he's probably not going to play. So I think that
Jonathan David's a baller, though. He's one to watch out for on the goal tally.
Yeah,
David is insane.
He's having a good qualifying.
And I mean, honestly, I liked the team that Greg is taking with us on this international break. I hear that Matt Turner is going to be getting some minutes, which I'm really excited about as a Revolution supporter. But with those things in mind, I wouldn't be surprised with a draw, or if we were able to squeak out a win against Canada. I think just with everything going on right now, it feels like it's one of those games where the US could steal 3 points, and I'd be over the moon with that. If we're able to just spread the gap over Mexico, over that 4th place spot a little bit more and solidify our spot in Qatar, I will gladly go get myself a men's national team kit. I need one. I don't have a US kit. I've never gotten one. I don't know. You did. You had a couple of them, didn't you?
Yep, I had 2. Oh well. Anyway, I think the US got a good chance to come out of this playoffs really, really happy. I'm crossing my fingers and hoping that the men's national team don't hurt me like they normally do. Real quick though, I do think we should backtrack to CONMEBOL because there are actually like 2 full days worth of games, and there are a couple of pretty interesting matchups coming up here. So tomorrow is notably Chile and Argentina. In that game,
playing this window, why do I feel like I haven't saw anything in terms of like Liverpool's players playing right now?
I don't know. I mean, Brazil and Ecuador are playing tomorrow too.
Yeah, Brazil and Ecuador play tomorrow.
I wonder who their teams are. I didn't see anything about Liverpool players going abroad. I think that's where that came from in my head.
I do think these might be makeup fixtures either way, but I do think that the games are going to be good regardless of who does or doesn't go. But yeah, there's Chile, Argentina tomorrow in the evening, which is definitely one to watch. I actually think it's going to be a really, really good game. I don't 100% know the squads that were taken with them, but I think it will be a game to watch. Those games are always like full of quality, and CONMEBOL qualifiers are insane all the time.
Chile's right on the fringe too. They're on 16 points right out of that interconfederation playoff spot.
Yep. So it's a really, really important game for Chile. And then another one I think to watch, just given the grand scheme of things, is Uruguay and Paraguay tomorrow as well. They're both in fucking terrible runs of form. But Paraguay have some good players. Uruguay have some good players. And similar to Chile, Uruguay are like right on the cusp of that you know what Josh said before. My brain just turned off for a second. But they're level on points with Chile there. Just only separated by goal differential. So it's a big game for Uruguay too, especially because they are going into a game where they are not favored. So if Argentina are to win and Uruguay pick up points against Paraguay, it like really changes everything in the qualifiers for that last spot there for the play-in game. And also Paraguay are only 3 points behind Uruguay and Chile for that.
Peru has a really hard game too. So technically with a win for Uruguay, they could actually hop over Peru.
Yeah, they could because it's Peru and Colombia, right?
Yeah, it's like one of those. It's like a fringe matchup. Which
it is.
Definitely, it's so tight in the middle.
Yeah, I think that those will be some really, really good games. And then moving into next week in CONMEBOL, because they'll be right before we record at the beginning of the week, start of February. There is a couple really important games here too. Argentina, Colombia is a big one just for Colombia, and Peru, Ecuador, I think is also going to be one to watch. Same with Uruguay, Venezuela, just because again, those teams are kind of like right on the fringe of qualifying. So it's like big games for a lot of these teams, World Cup hopes. And we all know how insane CONMEBOL qualifying always is, and how just like physical and on the line. And, these dudes are literally willing to go out and just like die somewhere in South America to make sure that their team qualifies for the World Cup.
Yeah, it's pretty iconic. I think the last tournament we have to just touch on quickly is AFCON, as much as we've talked about it. Mo Salah scored the winning penalty for Egypt today against the Ivory Coast. That's a huge game too. Egypt, Ivory Coast, 2 World Cup teams that are usually right around there, and some big Premier League names on both of those teams. Eric Bailly missing a penalty for the Ivory Coast.
Why is Eric Bailly standing over penalty ever?
I just found that really funny. A lot of funny Twitter comments that I won't repeat. But yeah, comical. I think Egypt have to be one of the favorites, probably Egypt and Senegal. And I know it's going to sound biased because I'm a Liverpool fan. They're probably 2 of the most favored teams left. Maybe Cameroon and Morocco as well. But yeah,
I think Cameroon aren't a bad side. I think we should be talking about the fact that the team that came into this tournament, Nigeria, that everyone was like, this is like the team to beat. A lot of people had Nigeria as their favorites to win the tournament, lost 1-0 to Tunisia.
Yeah, that's tough. That's a tough look.
That is crazy. Tunisia played a really, really good game. And Nigeria crashing out super, super early in AFCON. And I think that's pretty, that's like more probably speaks to Tunisia than it does to Nigeria, and how well that they played versus a side that, like I said, everyone, all the bookmakers, people just like neutrals, people just watching the tournament, were just like, Nigeria are going to make a run, and they crash out right at the beginning of the knockout rounds.
Another kind of fun thing, this isn't AFCON related, but it is African football related. World Cup qualifiers were drawn, and the way they do it, it's like playoff games over there. And one of the playoff games is Senegal versus Egypt, with the loser going home, the winner going to the World Cup. So Salah versus Mane, winner going to the World Cup. That is a game you have to watch. Like, any football fan should be watching that game.
I already have so many fucking memes in my head for, like, regardless of who moves on from that game, just like, it's going to be somebody taking the bullet for the other to go on to the World Cup. Like, that is so sad, because I want to see every single Liverpool player be able to go out and play in the World Cup, because that's just who the fuck I am. But that is heartbreaking. That it's
funny given their little rivalry that everyone, I think, on the planet knows they have.
Yes,
but I think that's all I have on the African football takes for the week.
Yeah. I mean, Naby Lad coming home early doesn't matter. Yeah. But excited to see what post AFCON, post international break football is going to look like. Because it's coming up soon.
Champions League previews are coming. They're on the way.
I'm so excited for some of the stuff that we've been seeing over on Liverpool social media. Harvey Elliott giving the fans a little wink, talking about post international break. He's been in full training. We're gonna have Thiago back. Things are looking up for the Reds.
Should be an interesting a couple months here, both in the Premier League and on the main stand in terms of content and stuff coming out. So, do we have anything else this week, boys?
Champions League in like 2 weeks too.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I have my hot take.
Oh yeah, go ahead, Mitch. Hot take.
Everton are getting relegated.
There's no chance of that happening. I love it though.
Everton are getting relegated.
I mean, they're close.
They are currently sitting on 19 points. Their last 5, 4 losses and a draw. They just lost their manager. They just lost one of their top defenders. They are getting relegated.
I don't know, man. The teams below them are so bad.
Yeah, they're awful.
I get that, but Newcastle have made improvements. And I feel like Newcastle is going to be a team that skips over both Norwich and Everton. And I don't see Watford getting relegated.
I do.
I can see Watford.
I see Burnley.
I think Watford get
Watford have fucking Roy Hodgson as manager. He's almost older than the stadium.
Watford have had 6 managers since the last time they kept a clean sheet. You're
not wrong. But look, I see Burnley, I see Norwich, and I see Everton getting relegated at this point in the season. But the hot take was Everton are getting relegated. Mark my words.
I think if they got relegated, Bramley fucking Dock is going to be underwater by the time that new stadium gets built.
I don't think there is any way that Everton get worse than Watford and Norwich. I just don't see it. They have 2 games. They're 2 games ahead of Norwich, and they're 3 points ahead of them still. I just don't see them slipping that far. I think they're in a really bad run of form. I don't think they get any higher on the table than like 14th at best.
No, because they're getting
Calvert-Lewin bags like 10.
I think they will end up safe.
So in the next 4, no, that's not February 19th. That's March 19th. Everton play Newcastle February 8th, and they play City February 26th, and then they play Watford March 19th. Those are going to be the next 3 big games that I'm looking at to bury them.
That sounds like 2 draws and a loss to me.
If they lose all 3 of those games, they're getting relegated.
I think Calvert-Lewin will start picking it out. You have to remember, he was gone for most of the first half. I think with Calvert-Lewin back, if he can get 10, 12 goals in the second half, I think there's no way they get even in the remote conversation for it.
We'll see.
No, but it's funny that they're close enough to make that take.
Yeah, it is. It is very funny, especially as a Liverpool fan.
But, yes, sir. That's why I had it.
I'm interested. You're going to have my eyes on it, Mitch. Before we go, I'd just like to remind you that Fiorentina are in 7th place right now.
Yes, they had a shitty game without Vlahovic, okay? They drew. They came out flat. 7th place on 1 point. Or 2. Is it 2 points?
And they're losing the guy that they needed.
Not necessarily. Hey, the pen hasn't even touched the paper. The pen is still in the office. The paper is still coming off the printer. Relax. Fiorentina, I love you. It's a little cloudy right now, but the sun is still poking through the fucking clouds. And that's the Fiorentina forecast. We didn't even have that scheduled, but that's it. It's cloudy and it's 65.
I think that ends the episode.
What he said, but a little colder because they're getting not top 6.
Top 6, here we come.
Share, subscribe to the podcast. Tune in for the vlog coming next week, and tune into the mini-sode coming here in the next few days as well.
Yes, sir. Peace.
Deuces.